Hi, Scott Wilson here. Hey, welcome back to the Marketing for Business podcast. This is the last in our double episodes from our 100th podcast. Today I've got Brent Selwyn and Shaun Stockman. Look, Brent shares some really good wisdom here in the podcast. I call him the marketing lawyer. I never have really seen another law firm really market like he does and the way he thinks. And he talks about two things. One thing that you really need to do from a personal level if you want to grow your business. And it's a real insight. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You need to listen to it because you can do the same thing. Brent did this thing 15 years ago, and ever since his business has just been on a trajectory. Then he talks about another thing that any business owner can do. Look, I'm not going to share what it is because you really need to listen to it because growth comes from inside this podcast. If you start doing the two things that Brent shares here, you will actually grow your business. He talks about also 3 ways. Myself and him really brainstormed 3 ways of how to stand out from your competitors and what you need to do today. We also talk about how to use video in your business and why it's so important. And we started brainstorming some ideas and things in that as well that can really help you grow your business. I always say, you'll hear me say this all the time, success leaves clues. This is another one. Business owner who's been in business a long time, who's seen the cycles go up and down, but at the end of the day, has stayed true to his sales and marketing and is getting growth from it. Then Shaun Stockman. Look, Shaun's probably one of the most successful commercial property investors I know, an all-round great guy. His best business advice. I personally, you need to hear it because it is so clear what he believes, and I really believe it too. But it was so good to hear it from someone who has got the runs on the board when it comes to being in business. And he also shares the number one piece of advice that drives him to get up in the morning, but also how to then develop that into his team. So if you've got a team, this is a message that you'd want to hear as well. And then he talks about how to handle the economic cycles. And this is a really, really good chat. He actually, we filmed it and recorded it in June 24, but, applicable to right now, but also really applicable to 2025. So look, if you, as a business owner, want to get a bit more clarity on what's going on in the marketplace, just listen to this. Listen to what Shaun is saying because, he really understands the financial structure of what's going on in the economy. And look, he was surprised by some things, and he mentions that. But, he really then does start to talk about what you can do as a business owner. So, business owners, this one's for you, the marketing lawyer and a really successful property investor coming your way. So enjoy it. It's about 20 minutes. Once again, all I need you to do, once you've listened to it, just share the podcast. It's such a good podcast. Share it. Tag a friend, maybe someone who's investing in commercial property, or maybe someone who's a lawyer that needs to hear it as well. But tag someone in the podcast, post it up on LinkedIn. Love getting a tag on LinkedIn, and then seriously, you'll make my day. So this is the last one in the double episode. Maybe I'll do some more double episodes in the future, but I really appreciate the feedback that you've given us on these double episodes. Until then, have fun, and as always, take action. Brent Selwyn, welcome back to the Marketing for Business podcast.
Thank you.
And I think you were the 4th person I had on the podcast, and now this episode is our 100th episode.
Yeah.
And I've been asking people what's their best business advice. So you can either give me your best business advice that you've ever had, or what's working right now for you in your business.
Probably going to be a bit repetitive in terms of talking about things that I spoke about in the podcast, but best business advice for me, I guess, was to continue learning, always continue learning, right? So I've made a policy over the last 15 years, and you've been involved in most of that, of just keeping learning and trying new things.
Yeah, nice.
In terms of right here, right now, keeping in touch with the captive audience, the 80-20 principle. We've got, 80% of captive clients, so we're doing some promotions to them, which you guys are helping with. Also, I guess at your request and your suggestion, kickstarting more Google advertising and Facebook advertising to get to that audience and a wider audience. And importantly, I think for us now, video.
Yeah.
Because we have been a bit behind the times in getting more of that done. We've got a lot of our younger people on board, and it's great that they are helping with that. But I think just generally across the last 15 odd years that I've known you and been dealing with you, just an ability to keep learning and to try new things.
Yeah.
So for me, I've tried all sorts of things that lawyers wouldn't do, like, cold letter drops, some of which really work quite successfully. And Yeah, I set up a website after the red zone.
Yeah, yeah.
And I wouldn't have done that had I not met you, and through you, guys called Phil Benoit.
Yeah, that's right.
And, people like that, so setting up a website called theredzone.net.nz was a really successful move for my law firm and netted a whole lot of clients.
Because that's the cool thing about doing and learning, right? When you learn stuff, you can then start to implement it, get the feedback from the marketplace, you hear if it's working, and really start to, I guess, lean into some of those things, because you never know what's going to happen if you don't give it a go. And that one thing I like dealing with business owners who are action takers. They don't sit there and go, oh, the market's tough or the market's this or that. Just get in and do it. Like that was after the earthquakes. It would have been easy not to do anything, right?
Yeah, and I acted quickly because it immediately, Mr. Brownlee at the time, the minister, announced that the government was forming a thing called the Red Zone. I thought, great opportunity to play.
Yeah.
Now, would I have thought of that if I hadn't met you and Phil?
Yeah.
Not a chance. The other thing I've got a website still to this day called conveyancinglawyer.co.nz.
Perfect.
And that, for a while, before someone rebuilt it and messed it up a bit, it was producing, I was probably my own best referrer.
Yeah.
And I would never have been able to do that or had the skills to do that.
Yeah.
I did that myself. I built a simple little WordPress website.
Yeah.
I probably still could.
I reckon you could redesign that, get it ready, probably get it back out into the marketplace.
That is the plan.
Yeah.
To do just that, because it was ranking so well that literally I was getting 2 or 3 leads a month.
Perfect.
From my own website by people finding me ranking somewhere between 1 and 3 at any given time.
Yeah.
Ahead
Sweet
of
spot.
most of the big law firms advertising for key word structures like conveyancing lawyer. So, look, it's been a great journey for me, and I probably wouldn't have gone as far as I have on that journey or tried the things that I have without meeting you. And then, obviously, now in the last 8 or so years, your team at Digital Influence had longer than that.
Yeah. Well, the good thing there, Brent, is your willingness to learn and then implement. Now you've got a team around you, and now they're getting involved now as well, which I think is fantastic. It's always good to see. When the business owner's excited by it, then the team gets involved, and like everyone's got some really good knowledge inside the firm. So being able to get that out in the marketplace, sometimes I tell people, consistency of message, frequency of reach to become relevant. And if you want to have more people, the more people that may know who you are and what you do for them, and they either like you and build up that trust, the more business can flow your way. And I just think there's plenty of lawyers not doing it. And that's the opportunity too. People are thirsty for the information and the insights that you guys give.
There are things that I've learned from listening to, like I listen to lots of what you do, and little things like building trust through giving away little bits of information. I think you call it influence through education. That's the catchphrase. And I think that's a really pertinent thing, and I've tried to do that, and I hope that's what the Status video campaign is about. And you're right, we've got young people that have stepped up and done some videos, and I'm really pleased about that, because prior to that, it's pretty much been me.
Yeah.
And I think the clients want to see some of the younger face. Yeah.
I also think, and this is a really good tip for business owners to leverage the knowledge you have inside the firm. But also it's very hard for someone to maybe explain what you do, right? So by creating video content, they can then pass the video. Oh, by the way, someone's explained it really well here. Watch this video. So it does broaden out the firm, broadens out the knowledge base as well, which is, end of the day, got things. You're going to have things working in you when you're not even, talking to people face to face, which is what I love about video, the communication tool that it is.
This is going to your last gig at the Elms. I've been looking through Google, just looking at the most commonly asked questions in different areas of law, with a view to then talking to you and Kellyanne and your team about doing more video in different areas. Like this month we've chosen wills and enduring powers of attorney.
So good.
But equally, we'd like to have a focus each month. And that was a good exercise, just going through and looking at the questions people are asking.
Yeah, sometimes they're the simple stuff, right?
And give away some information, with the ultimate aim being to build the trust and to build the brand.
Yeah, and that's the good thing about it is people want to know that know, like, and trust is such a big thing in business, and we all know it, but it's leveraging the technology. You know, we know what people are searching for. Let's give them back some information that can actually help them, get them a wee bit more advanced down the way when they're choosing to do business with someone.
The other thing that I've done recently, and again, I don't think I would have thought to do this if I hadn't taken on board some of what I've learned through your teachings, and that is just to take some updates about the Brightline test to the appropriate audience within the firm.
Yes.
Write a bit of an article about it, did a search of the database for investor clients particularly, and sent out an update to them.
Nice.
On that. No, it's pretty common sense really, but most of us in our game don't find the time to do it.
Yeah.
We're busy.
And that's really valuable to those potential, you know, they could be doing more with you, or they can hand it on to someone else. Hey, have you heard about this? All of a sudden that content's being leveraged, which is...
Yeah, and look, today being the operative day, the 1st of July, you know, it's not very often in this country that the government makes legislation retrospective. You know, so that was quite exciting. And also the phasing back in of interest deductibility.
So that's moved from a 10-year period to a 2-year period?
Back to 2 years, carte blanche. So it doesn't matter, anyone that entered into a contract after, I think it's the 30th of June 2 years ago, is now in that sweet spot where they could sell it. Without influencing the Brightline. And, you know, bring into play the Brightline test.
Yes.
So, there's all sorts of stuff happening, and we try and keep on top of that.
One thing I heard there, though, Brent, is your ability to stay current and learn. And I think that's what, you know, when I talk to people, I say in my workshops, hey, going to give you another part-time job, people kind of laugh, and it's like, well, you know, I want you to be a part-time marketer because I want you to be curious about what's going on. Because curious people, you know, they think about how could this information help my clients? You know, and that's what you're doing, you know, by being curious. And I think that's, if you listen to this podcast, become more curious about your marketplace and your business and how you can help people, because then you'll step into creating some content and give it away for free that can actually position you really, really well. Yeah,
and for anyone watching this, you know, I still make a point of going to pretty much every seminar that I can that Scott puts on, because I always walk away with one little nugget that I then go back to Scott, even though he's already doing our work, saying, "Ooh, I liked that."
Yeah.
Like there were different technologies that you talked about that were used in terms of writing and editing.
Crazy.
And that stuff really, I love learning that stuff.
Yeah.
You're never too old to keep learning.
No. And the good thing about it is, you know, like what I always say there as well is educate yourself so you have enough knowledge to ask better questions of your marketing agency, you know, and sometimes that's not the case. People just say, hey, catch this, you run it. But I love it when someone come and ask us questions and, you know, they are up to date as well. It's definitely as a partnership, and it makes it work a lot better for both parties.
And look, I know I've done testimonials for you guys before, but I mean, you know, it's a great relationship for us. 8 years, 9 years deep into the relationship with KT, and it's great.
That's so good. Appreciate it. Awesome. Hey, well, what are you taking away from this little episode? This is awesome. Like, Brent's a lifelong learner of marketing. He's probably one of the few lawyers that actually, you know, goes deep and wants to know more about how he can help his client, and, you know, even build some websites to position. So I'd love to know, what's your takeaway from this episode? You know, like, you've been listening now, I don't know how we've maybe 20 episodes that we've got for people, for you listening. So let me know one of your takeaways in the comments, and looking forward to helping you with more of these podcast episodes. This is our 100th episode, so make sure you share it with people out on LinkedIn, out on Facebook, out on Instagram. Make sure you share it with people, and we'll help them a few more business owners. So Brent, thank you for your time.
Thank you, and congratulations on 100 episodes of a fantastic podcast.
Cheers. Shaun Stockman, welcome back to the Marketing for Business podcast.
Thanks, Scotty. Good to be here.
Mate, I'm excited to have you here. This is our 100th episode, so we've got a whole bunch of people, and I'm asking them one question, and I know it's a good question to ask you. What is your best business advice?
You've got to love what you do.
Nice. I like that.
You've got to love what you do. You've got to be passionate about it. You've got to wake up in the morning and actually look forward to going to work.
Yeah.
And I think when you're passionate about what you do and you love doing what you do, you're not actually going to work.
Yeah.
You're going to enjoy what you doing, and people will pick up and know that you are enjoying and loving what you're doing, and they'll love to be part of it.
Yeah.
It's like walking into a shop and the girl's got a face that long. You know what I mean? You're just
or guy.
Yeah, all guy. Yep.
So most of them are on their phones.
Yeah, either.
I think that's really important though, like especially as an owner of the business, like you've got to love it. You've got to want to turn up. I've seen you here on some Saturdays when I've been here, and you don't have to turn up. You want to turn up.
Yep.
And I think that's the difference too, right? Like you actually want to be doing things. You got a purpose that you're doing some good stuff, and you just want to make it happen.
Yeah. Every day is a good day.
Yeah.
Every day that you get up, I think when you get up and you're grateful for what you've got, grateful for the business you've got, grateful for the life that you've got, and you get up and go to work. And you, especially when you lead a team like you and I do, you've got to go to work and you've got to be grateful. I've got these guys, they're part of my life, they're part of my world. Yeah. And I'm leading them. Yeah. And
I love it. My dad was a freezing worker, right? And I always remember him saying, because he worked for the same place for 47 years, freezing worker. And look, I wasn't an owner of a business at the time, and I kind of wanted to start my own business. And I remember him kind of briefly talking about it, and he just said, well, you're not in a jail. He says you can do whatever you want. And I thought that was really interesting from someone who'd been at the same place for 47 years. And I said, well, but you've been at the same place. He goes, yeah, but I like it. I really liked he really liked what he was doing. He liked the camaraderie of it. Yeah. So like that's the kind of point. He enjoyed going there, so he liked doing it.
Yep.
So you can actually work for someone and still really enjoy going there, right?
That's the culture.
Yeah.
That's the culture. Our office, we have we buy groceries in every week. So the guys are supplied morning tea, lunch, afternoon tea, and what they like, chocolate or whatever. But it's part of that culture thing. Yeah. Where you can, most of the guys sit and have lunch every day and chat, and nice. That's it's like one big happy family. Yeah. Most days.
So you set that tone though, right? And what do you reckon it is that you like what you do? Why is that like for you? What is it about it that you really like? Is it the people side? Is it the negotiation? Because you're involved in the property world and you have a lot of office spaces and stuff. What is it about that it makes it for you?
I think it's the creative side of it. Yeah. Where you create. Yeah. You create your business, you create your business life, you create your personal life culture and your life culture.
Yeah, true.
And that's something I've learned in probably later years of my life, to be fair, but probably because you slow down a bit and you become more conscious of it, that you actually have to work on yourself every day. Yeah. Like when you get up in the morning, you can't just shower and go to work. Yeah. I might be having breakfast or whatever, or reading a report or something, but you actually have to work on yourself so when you get to work, you're actually ready.
Yeah, I think that's part of. I think about that constantly as around my morning routine, but how you show up, constantly working on that. Because as a leader of the business, if you turn up and go, oh man, another day. Oh, what's going to happen to us today? If you ever bring that energy to it, well, it's never going to happen, right? But if you're going, hey, this is a great day. I was singing around the team the other day, everything is awesome. It's the Lego song. And I just do it because my son was watching the Lego movie. But I just thought it was, you can bring a vibe, right? You can bring a vibe. And if you're consistent with it, you can really create something great. And I think that's, it's okay to have a pity party sometimes around some stuff that you're doing. Not everything goes 100% all the time. How do you deal with that? Like, what's your...
I look at life these days in that a problem is a solution.
Nice.
There's a solution to every problem. Yeah. And if you look at the journey of life and the experience of life, we've all had problems. Yeah. And we've all had problems where you face a problem and you go, wow, this is going to be a game changer, or this is going to knock me out, or this is going to be, different and really bad. But in reality, they aren't. No. In reality, they aren't. Yeah. And when you look at a problem and you focus on it, there's always a solution.
It's always a solution.
Always a solution.
And I think as you look back on some of those problems that you thought were problems, and like the time gives it context that, and I think that when you was talking and listening to Gilbert Anoka around that, and he was the All Black kind of mind coach for a while, and he talked about how in high performance, if you look too far out, you get overwhelmed, and if you look too far behind, you get stressed as well. So dealing with what's in front of you allows you to see things for what they are. Yeah. And I like what you talked about, being grateful around that, because if you're I've been saying to a lot of people recently, no sailor let anything in a calm sea. You always learn stuff from being in a rough sea, and we're in a bit of a rough sea at the moment, and we're doing that in our business. We're constantly looking how we can be better.
Yeah.
What are some of those challenges that we're having, and let's bring a different lens to that opportunity, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's something you learn over time too, right?
You learn a lot over time, Scott.
Yeah.
A lot over time.
A lot over time. Do you find those experiences hold you in good stead moving forward though, and I guess one of the cool things now is you kind of get to teach other people.
Yeah, for sure. And I have the odd, when I say odd, there's a couple of young people who have been in my world for a long time.
Yep.
And they regularly contact me for advice.
Nice.
Mentoring advice. Yeah. One of them's quite successful these days. You would hardly think, you think I'd be contacting him for advice.
Yeah.
But he regularly contacts me for stuff or bounces stuff off me, and sometimes it's a quick phone call, but I'm happy to help out, and you always feel better for actually helping someone else.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's why I love doing this podcast series, because interviewing all these people that have been in business a long time, and they're sharing their best advice, and it's really interesting to hear some of the different advice. But when they all add up together, it's actually, people are going to be listening to this going, man, that was really valuable. That was really valuable.
Yeah.
It's a really cool thing to be able to give back. You got any other words of wisdom? What about right now? We're in June 2024. What's your advice for people right now? Because it's a bit tough out there for some people.
It's tough. We're in we're in what's been a relatively sharp economic cycle in terms of the bites sort of started to come on around about sort of February, March 23. And hand on heart, I actually thought by now things would be a lot worse out there in the real world.
Yep.
I thought they'd be worse. We had
globally or
globally and locally. A lot of businesses out there have slowed. That's a result of the lack. You've got that. The middle. Mum, dad, 2.2 kids, mortgage in the suburbs, maybe a boat, those type of people who spend. They're bringing up a family, they have to spend. Yeah. They're struggling. Yeah. They're struggling, and they're the people that spend.
True.
And, when they're not spending, it contracts the rest of the economy. Yeah. So we've got to, I think, with interest rates easing off, they're sort of forecast for, next year in the main to start tracking down. That'll put some disposable income back into those pots. We'll see things track. But, on a worldwide scale, most countries like us are facing the same challenges. Yeah. Aussie is just a repeat rinse of us. Yeah. Totally. The States, you had inflation there, high UK inflation at 10%. Yeah. By comparison, their interest rates are low compared to ours. Yeah. Aussie, they're nothing like ours. They're below ours. Yeah, below ours. It's interesting how they drive an economy. Yeah. How that fluid, that cash, people rely on the need for that cash to fund their homes or fund whatever businesses. Equally, a lot of large corporates haven't expanded because corporates normally borrow to expand and then repay the debt. With the cost of money, you're talking commercially, you're talking 9 to 11%.
Yeah, they've been a bit more cautious, right?
They've been a lot more cautious, and we're seeing jobs. The unemployment levels, rising, which the Reserve Bank wants to happen. Yeah, that's a real blunt knife.
From your experience and where you've seen this go in the past, how does it play out? Like, where do you think it plays out? You said, you thought it'd be a bit further on. Like, where do you see it playing out?
Well, I'm sort of second guessing myself, because when it, around about late 22, when interest rates were sort of on the rise. Yep. I thought they might have hit 6. Yep. Because, post-Quake and Christchurch commercially, we haven't seen rates with first-tier banks over 6%. No. In fact, when COVID hit, 2020, our average cost of funds was about 4.5%. Our average cost of funds today is 8.5%. 8.5%,
yeah.
So
double.
Yeah, so we hadn't, I thought when interest rates started to rise, we might have seen them cap at 6.
Yep.
I'd advice from a couple of economists that they'd cap at 6.
Yeah.
But we all got it wrong.
Yeah.
They've capped it more.
Yeah.
And generally you find a lot of economic cycles, they can last for 3 or 4 years.
Yep.
If you look at the GFC,
Yeah.
you could see signs of it in 06.
Yes, totally.
Only signs of it. 07, 08, it was really biting.
Yeah.
09, it was like, this is the norm.
Yeah, yeah.
And in Canterbury 2010, we had the earthquakes,
yeah.
which threw a lot of cash in the pot.
Yeah, we got sheltered from it a wee bit,
We got sheltered from it. 2011, we got sheltered again.
Yeah.
COVID, it was a very unusual time where the banks printed money flat out.
Yeah. It's kind of like we've got the flu now.
Yeah. A lot of quantitative easing.
Yeah.
Everyone bought a spa pool, caravan, updated the Commodore, all that stuff. And, then all of a sudden it's time to pay for it.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying is I looked at it and thought, this is either going to be quick and shallow and to the point, but the Reserve Bank is sort of saying, we're not sure about the sticky inflation.
Yeah.
It may carry on longer.
Yeah. It definitely seems like it.
And, it's like, generally, as I say, the economic cycles are 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
So if you put that into perspective, you could be talking, end of 25 when things come right.
Yeah. So what do you do as a business owner then?
You've just got to control your costs.
Yeah.
Keep positive.
Yeah.
Keep very focused.
Yeah.
Maintain your integrity and your reputation.
Yeah.
2 most important things you can have. And you've really just got to focus and carry on.
Yeah.
And it's times like that where you've just got to look outside the square at not doing what you've always done and what is always normal to do.
Yeah, true.
You've got to lift every rock.
Yeah.
And go, what about this? What about that?
Yeah.
What can we do here?
Yeah.
Make things work, make things fit.
Yeah.
Because that'll get you through.
Yeah. And I'm just talking a lot at the moment about designing the strategy to pick the tactics to produce the results you want from a marketing perspective. The time is now. You've got to sharpen that sword and get your strategy right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you don't have your strategy, you start doing things that are just random. Like, talked to a client the other day and a radio guide rang him up and said, you need to run this radio campaign. It was like $2,000 for the month. And it was like, what a waste of time that is. You're feeding the person who's selling you something, but it's not part of your strategy.
No.
And saying that, we've got clients spending more than ever right now because they know it's time to grow the market share, but that's pinned to a bigger strategy, Yeah. And I think that's you do see the good businesses start to really dominate in these kind of markets.
Yes.
And I was listening to Cameron Bailey talk about it the other day, and he was saying how he likes this kind of market because it's a good time to have tough conversations, and it's the people that can have those tough conversations that kind of win in this market.
Yes, you've got to. Yeah, you don't pussyfoot it, just front foot it. Tell it as it is.
Yeah.
This is how it is.
Awesome. Shaun, this has been great. Look, I went off on a wee bit of a tangent there because I wanted to get your snapshot because I know you're a very, very, very smart man when it comes to what's going on in the marketplace. So, hey, maybe share this one. Shaun's just giving some real good insights. Firstly, love what you do. And if you're a business owner listening to this, share this podcast with another business owner that maybe need a bit of a lift right now. And then also share it with your other business owners that are talking about the economy. So I really appreciate, Shaun, really appreciate you coming back in today.
Thanks, Scott. Great to be here.
Yep. Just share this podcast. Just share it with everyone you can. The more people that listen to the tips that these entrepreneurs and business owners are getting, the better. All right. Thanks for your time and have a great day.